when I first heard about ITAP, I thought it was a great initiative. And just a few weeks later, my friend Ariana Aragai invited me to share my experience on pragmatics on Chinese. The truth is, in my life, pragmatics of Chinese has been very important to me. I spent 10 years in China and Taiwan. I had to learn the language, and I lived by myself on how important things that are around the language are key for a good communication, right? So while I've been training businessmen on how to communicate in Chinese in China, I've seen that it's not just about the language, but that you really have to take care of many of the things around it that makes the communication possible. So ETAP gives me the opportunity to share some of this knowledge specific for Chinese to people around the world, and that's something that I value very much. And pragmatics in Chinese language is, I would not say everything because you need to learn the language, but when people say, well, of course you can do business there because you speak Chinese, most of the time I say no, it's not about that 100%. You need, of course, knowing how to speak the language helps you a lot, but specifically the pragmatics on Chinese are super key because many of the gestures, many of the face movements that we do in the West, they are sometimes opposite, and I say opposite, I mean it, to those that you have to use when you communicate in Chinese Mandarin. And there are many examples, and it's not just on restaurants eating. Like everybody knows, things with the chopsticks, you cannot just stick them on food, or things that remind to other parts of the life, like funerals in this case, or no, it's everywhere. It's when we're talking about even electronics or telecommunications, which is my field. There are so many things that change a lot. Like when you see something like this with your hands, in most of Western language, is that there's a lot of something, right? Well, this in Chinese makes it male. There's nothing there, right? So it's the opposite in this case. So there are lots of these examples that are very key to have a complete conversation, because if you are saying something that is not reflected on your face or your gestures, you for sure are gonna get confused the people you're talking to, right? And another thing that is related to pragmatics in language, and that is very important in Mandarin Chinese, is the way we perceive humor. The way we perceive humor is very different, and you need to get this humor as the way seen for in China or in other Chinese countries, that is different, and it's a humor that once you know it, and once you play with it, and you are involved with it, you find it funny. It's a different way of funny for a Western, but it's fun, and that's something that is very important when you communicate, because you need to put always oil on the communication, right? So this oil comes with these things, being able to say something that it's feel from the other side that you're in a good mood, and that it's honest, right? So you cannot do it falsely, because then it's pretty obvious. It will be easy to see on your face. But when you get to learn it, then you feel that you are inside that. A friend of mine once said, when the first time he saw me in a meeting talking in Mandarin, he say, Jordi, you are not Jordi when you are speaking with Chinese. You change to another Jordi. And I said, wow, I'll check on that, because I didn't realize. And then after that comment that it came from him, then I realized to myself, oh yes, it's like I changed. So like, it's not just talking into Chinese, but is you use all these things. Sometimes you don't realize you're using them, but you have to be aware that those are important, because otherwise you don't realize the value of those pragmatic practices on the language. So why pragmatics in Chinese language studying are very key. One of the things that I get asked frequently is how long it takes to learn Chinese. And from the experience I have from people there, foreigners, Americans, Europeans, I have to say that Chinese is very special in the sense that when you start learning the language, it's pretty easy, and it helps you get excited about it, because not having gender, not having singular, plural, not having to do changes on the verbs, this is something that allows you to start saying things quite fast, and that's a very good help at the beginning. Then when it comes to the tones, it's where it gets a bit complicated at the beginnings, because you think you are saying the same word, and you actually are doing something very different, right? So for sure you have all heard about the typical ma 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 ma. Those four words sound pretty similar. They only change the tone, but they mean totally different things. Like one, and very totally different in the sense that one is mother, the other one is a horse, and another is it's a particle that you use for questions. So it has nothing to do one to another. So this is interesting at the beginning. Then if you want to get to a level that you want to being able to have comprehensive dialogues with Chinese native speakers, then you need about 2 to 3 years of immersion. So you need to live in a country that they speak Chinese, and your life around you it's in Mandarin Chinese, right? So it doesn't count, for example, if you live in Hong Kong and you speak only in English. It's a very nice experience, but will not help you on getting Chinese well. And then if you want to get to a level where like people call you and they don't know if you are Chinese or not, they just don't know where your accent comes from, then for that you need about 8 years of immersive experience in Mandarin. So that's my experience from Western people that have learned the language like me in China for a long time.